I just finished watching episode 1 of season 1 of Escaping Polygamy, and let me tell you, it was epic. It has done so well. There's 4 seasons, and I am finally watching them from the very beginning all the way to the end, and we'll be going through it as thoroughly as possible, and we're going to be dissecting and discussing each of these episodes, all the intricate details of things that happen, and let me tell you, it is going to be worth it. So if you have not seen it, just get started on watching it. I'm going to be, what's that called when you like ruin the ending for people? Spoilers. Lots of spoilers will be coming in this for Escaping Polygamy, so let's get right into it. This one was really epic and interesting because it did have kind of the main people escaping was Leah and Hannah. Oh, when Leah finally starts driving and seeing her drive for the first time ever put a really big smile on my face. It was awesome. I love seeing how happy she was. It was a beautiful moment for sure. She knew what she wanted and she went after it, which I love that. It's awesome. She also shows her going back to get her GED. She was really brave. I loved it. So even though that Leah and Hannah were definitely the main focus on this video, I really think Ethan and Andrea, they were the star for me, man. I can't stop thinking about them. But Andrea's story is amazing.
I was adopted by a wonderful woman. She was my attorney when I was a child, and she has since taken me in as her own daughter. And at this point in my life, I'm pursuing my career in law to eventually be able to advocate for children. And I'm just very excited that I can just use my past as a motivation for good in the future and to help not only people escaping polygamy, but just children needing help.
When she was very young, she had an attorney that helped her and really like saved her in so many ways, and Andrea looked up to that attorney a ton, and Andrea's literally graduating from law school. Just goes to show how much of an impact that attorney must have had in her life. I think that was awesome. And then Ethan, seeing this Ethan boy, like
Ethan is what one would call a lost boy. He didn't choose to leave his group, he was kicked out. They usually will kick out a young boy because it lessens the competition for the older men. If there's not a bunch of attractive young boys, the young girls, well, all they'll have left is the older men.
He's literally, like Andrea even said it straight up, he's one of the lost boys. Like, he needs help, and his story is heartbreaking and sad, but it's like he has the desire to make that change, to be like Leah and Hannah and change his life and turn around and not let his dad define him forever. But he seems to keep on giving in. He keeps on falling. And Andrea is trying so hard. She's being so patient and loving and caring and wants to be there for him. And she really does. They have these amazing conversations. And I even love, at one point, Ethan's having this discussion about his relationships and what things are truly important to him. And he gets asked about his father. And you can tell it's a super emotional moment for him, and like hits really deep. He even starts crying at some point in it.
You know, with our parents, they don't necessarily know how to support us.
He's telling about how his dad disowned him, saying that he is not his son anymore, like that they're no longer family. He's not welcome. He's basically told him that he was trash, and Ethan just had to stand there and take it. And then though, they asked him, "Do you think your father loves you?" And you can tell Ethan's really thinking about it. And he says, "I don't know if my dad loves me, but I think that he does."
I tell myself that, yeah, I'm sure he does. Just going through a lot right now.
That's what Ethan says. And I was like, wow. After all the things that he's been through, after the horrible things that his dad had said to him, he still wants to believe that his dad loves him. And I felt that on a deep personal connection, you guys. Everyone wants to be loved. Everyone wants to be accepted. It is the worst thing in the world when you feel disowned and feel unwelcome in a place that you once called home. And I think people especially that come from like crazy family environment, we desire that and crave that and look for that so much. Oh, and he's only 18. Ethan is 18 years old going through all this, you guys. That is so young to be dealing with all of your family drama, being kicked out of a cult. This is where Ethan's story is unique. He didn't just run away from the FLDS polygamous cult. He got kicked out by his own father. That would be hard. It's one thing to feel like, I need to my freedom, I need to escape and get away from here, but it's another when it's almost like your own father rejects you and disowns you and doesn't even leave it up to you to make that decision if you're going to be there or not. You don't even get that choice anymore. That's so crazy. It didn't stop there. Then they asked him if he loved his dad, and he didn't even question it. He didn't even think about it. He didn't ponder. He just said, well, yeah, I love my dad. And I was like, what? Is that easy for you to know? You just know you love him? After all that he put you through? It's one thing to hope that he loves you, but then to know for a fact that you still love him? That's so fascinating to me. What aspects is he considering this love, in what ways does he still love his father? What does he interpret love as, And I know that's different from everybody, but it was just really fascinating putting those two and two together, seeing him and being so emotional and hearing his life story, all the things that he's went through, and him unsure of if his dad loves him, but knowing that he still loves his dad. That was very interesting, and it just made me want to help Ethan so bad. I don't know where Ethan's at. I know he left the FLDS, so he wasn't from the order, the polygamous group that I specifically come from, but it sounds like he's still here in Utah, and so I'm hoping I can reach out to him and just kind of get some follow-up story from him, because if I did the numbers right, he should be my exact same age, because he left at 18 years. Well, he left at 17, but then while the filming and things were happening, documenting his life story, he was 18, and that was the same age I was when I left, which was just a few episodes after him, so it would just be within the same year. So we're basically the same age. So I'd love to talk to this guy. I think that's going to be one of my next goals, to be able to try and reach out to this, figure out where this Ethan boy is, and, do some story about the lost boys. Because I know in this episode, they really left it on a cliffhanger for him, because Andrea, if you've seen the episode, Andrea goes and finds him back with his friends doing drugs, and he's not taking it very seriously, and you can tell he's on this roller coaster where he goes and he's like, I want to get better, I want to fix this, I want to make things better, and then a few weeks will go by and Andrea will find him, and when they're in that parking lot and Andrea says, what are you doing with your life? What are you doing? I felt that so much, because I have to ask myself that every day. I constantly am struggling with knowing what I truly want out of life, and I can only imagine if I had substance that would constantly make my mind think about them every time I sit down and think, what do I want? And there's this constant reminder making me think I want those substances, I want to give in. That would make life so hard. Even without those substances, it's like when you sit down and wonder, what do you want? What matters to you? It really takes some self-reflection. You got to really think about it, have intention with the decisions that you're making. It can be tough. How do you know what truly matters to you? What are you truly passionate about? What do you love? What do you want to do? And what are you doing with your life? It's a tough one. And substances definitely aren't going to help. And so I could just see Andrea's want to help so bad, and it was beautiful, and it was definitely hard to see him kind of give in. I love Andrea's willingness to be patient with him and help him, and so I really want to see where he's at right now. And the series just ends and they leave it at that, so I'm really curious to see what happens next. Oh, and then of course I gotta talk about the obvious, because in this series, or in this episode, Amanda has her wedding in it, and of course our dad shows up and causes a lot of drama in the wedding, but I remember being at the wedding. I was still in the order, in the Kingston Polygamous group, when Amanda got married, and I remember going to the wedding, my dad being there and it being a little bit, a lot of tension and stuff like that. I'm not going to talk too much about Amanda's part of the episode on here, because I want to do a video with her, and we'll be able to have her really talk about what was going through her mind and how she felt and everything, because I can imagine her beautiful day, her wedding, and then her dad kind of comes and crashes it. That would be definitely tough. I think that she handled it very well. From my perspective, I feel like it went decently. It was great. Hannah's story is really cool, because you can tell parents are willing to do a lot for their kids. She mentions in the episode that she tried. She tried really hard, and she gave it her all to try and work things out with her husband. And once she realized that it just is not going to work, she has no say in what happens inside of the group, then she realized that she has to do it, even if it's not for her, for her kids. And so it was beautiful to see that she wanted just what was best for them. Her story was very emotional. I love seeing her being able to get into that new home and her just being able to have this newfound freedom. Shirley is Chanel's mom. It's very interesting. You know, you could tell she's basically this mother that is really struggling with not liking her life in the order, having major issues with her husband Daniel, but she's not willing to leave the order to do anything major, I guess you could say. So it's really tough. And then what makes it really hard is I can tell that she really takes a toll on Chanel, because Chanel and Colleen both are at their mother's house trying to help and showing her how she can leave and how she can receive all of this help to make a better life for her. And she's basically saying, no, like, I know that things need to be fixed, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to leave. I just want them fixed, basically. And her own husband, obviously, in the order isn't fixing them. He's the biggest problem of them all. And so nothing's getting fixed. And Colleen and Chanel just want to help their mom so bad, but feel like they can't. And then I wrote this down because this is where it's like, this is where you know the order is so much more than just, you know, deciding to stay in a polygamous group or to leave. They play mind tricks with you. They brainwash you. They teach you certain things from so young that it's like, you've manipulated. You think from a whole different perspective. And Shirley says this. She says, well, at least the Kingstons do provide a home for you, and they provide jobs for you. So the Kingstons are doing some good. And Chanel and them point out that, well, the home she's in it's the worst of the worst homes you can be in. And she has to constantly fight for her job. But then Shirley even goes as far as saying, you need to forgive the Kingstons. Forgive the Kingstons, because it's only going to hurt you. I'm sure she's changed a lot. I bet, like, you know, everyone when they first leave, it's tough, especially when you have kids. She has kids. It can be really hard. She's unsure. She wants to make sure she's making the right decision for her and her kids overall. Now, but the thing that is interesting about her is that you know that she hates Daniel. We do know eventually, of course, as you watch, she does end up, like, it gets played out for so long. She's like kind of leaving, kind of in, leaves and then is back, and just so back and forth, unsure, don't know, whatever. In the end, she leaves her husband. 100% has nothing to do with Daniel, because he's crazy and abusive and literally the worst part of her whole experience, I'm sure. But she still is somewhat, like, I guess I don't know for sure, but from what I've heard, up to this day, she is still somewhat associated with the order and like tries to keep connections, because she has family and like people that she had relationships with, but she has nothing to do with her husband at all. So anyways, that's all for this episode. It definitely leaves us on a cliffhanger, so we're going to be talking more about episode 2 on the next one, and talking about what happens with Ethan, because he's something I want to know about. They left him on a huge cliffhanger. I want him to get help. I hope it does, but you know, it doesn't work out for everybody, and it is kind of sad. But let's find out watching the next one.